he's like, what are you reading? And I was like, no. I'm like freaking out. He like grabs my book from me. He's like, what the fuck is this?
Welcome back to Chaotically Bookish. My name is Annabelle.
My name is Ashley.
And today we're diving into the pits of hell. We're taking that stripper pole all the way down.
This episode's either going to expose us or just like, I don't even know. This episode's definitely going to expose us.
No, we're straight up going to be exposed.
You're about to learn too much about us.
You're going to know us on a very deeply personal level.
This is so unfortunate.
So today we're going to be talking about spicy books.
Could be talking about
Smutty books.
Smutty books.
Spicy. Erotica.
Oh, God.
Straight book porn.
You know, okay, I will say, the one thing I'm especially loving about like BookTok and Bookstagram is this like take back of erotica and smut and like the pride behind it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I can't believe it. It's like the craziest thing to me. Seeing people like absolutely boast about smut and like reading like just like literally the dirtiest books known to man.
Yeah, and seeing people's TBR and being like, there's like 20 smut books and they like flew through them.
I see people that literally just strictly have been reading smut. Just like, we're talking nonstop. Like the last 8 books they've read is just smut. And I'm like, yes, go. I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I like, you know, having it on Goodreads that you've read it. That's different. But like
it's more quiet, more private.
It's a little bit more quiet and sometimes people miss it.
Yeah.
But like on TikTok, on Bookstagram, that shit gets around. And like no one's fucking rude about it.
No. And I'm so proud of like women coming out and owning their sexuality and owning that they're having fun reading these books.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Because there could be people who would be dicks about it and be like, whoa, what are you doing reading that? But no one is.
No. I mean, there are, but
sure.
like we
seen.
trash them to hell, so it's fine.
I haven't come across anyone being like, what the hell do you think you're doing? So like, I just think it's so like, I don't know. It's just so cool to me.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm all for it.
We support the smut train here at Chaotically Bookish.
Before BookTok and Bookstagram, did you read smut before then? And I'm not talking like you're giving me that look, so like fan fiction and Wattpad. But like I'm just talking like, did you go out and buy a book?
No.
See, me neither. Because like TikTok,
we were also children.
True. But like we would read smut on like Tumblr, Wattpad. Like fan fiction was dirty.
Fan fiction was the best type of erotica.
It really was.
Yeah, because it gave us what we like didn't get from the original like piece of media.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh, you really like BBC's Merlin and you wanted Merlin and Arthur to fuck? Well, here's 20,000 pages of smut from them.
Oh my God. It really was. All the characters that you wanted to have, like to fuck, and then just even other like just like like bands.
Yeah,
like, you name it, it was there. It was great.
I know you were on that One Direction.
I was on that One Direction shit, and I own that. I own that shit.
Okay, so like I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a really big K-pop fan, and I'm definitely part of the army, so I love BTS. And I just wanted to know if it existed. Oh, it exists.
Oh my God,
it's filthy.
I believe it. Especially
I
like,
don't know, it feels a little weird though for me, like because they're real people.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is like I never really got into like I never read One Direction like smut.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I totally did. I'm just
called out.
Just called out. No, I totally did. But like, there's a big difference between like reading like Harry Potter fan fiction and One Direction fan fiction.
Yeah, because they're real people.
They're real people.
And this affects them.
It does.
Doesn't Harry Styles hate it?
He hates it. He like I'm pretty sure he has like a doesn't he have like a restraining order, like a cease and desist or something on like Anna Todd
after books?
Yeah, the after books.
He hates
because that's a little much. It's a little different when it's like, you know, on a website that just like you have to be on it to read it.
No, but
that's in bookstores
and it's
It has a movie franchise and it's fan fiction about this poor man.
Yeah, I know, and it's just like accepted. Like
I feel so bad
because that's the thing too. Like same thing with like 50 Shades. I'm like, yeah, it's Twilight fan fiction, but it's also kind of like Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart fan fiction.
Yeah,
because if you read the book, I'm pretty sure the description of both Anastasia Steele and Christian Grey are like word for word Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart.
God.
Because Bella has brown eyes, but Anastasia has like bluey gray eyes, I'm pretty sure. Like Kristen.
Yeah. And whether that was like, maybe it was unintentional. Maybe she was like, I can't copy this word for word.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
I mean, she did pretty much.
She really did though. It kills me.
It's so wild. Yeah, I think there are definitely lines that
Like,
should be drawn with certain erotica, but in general, I think it's fun and it's, I don't know, it's our version of porn.
it really is. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't even know what it is. Like, I would have never thought about purchasing a smutty book, like physically purchasing a smutty book, even on like my Kobo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of doing that until Bookstagram and BookTok really got into it.
I remember the first time I think I saw a smutty book. It was a Katie Roberts book, and it was all of the villains.
Oh God.
And someone was like, did you ever like Jafar when you were growing up? And I was just like, yeah, definitely liked the villains more than I liked the heroes.
Well, I've got a book for you.
Yeah, and it was wild.
Those are wild. Katie Roberts is wild. What was like your first ever like physical smut? Like, I'm not talking fan fiction. I'm like, whether it was like Kobo or ebook or audio, whatever, physical book. What was your first smut?
Ooh, I don't know.
Like your first erotica. What was your first erotica?
Erotica, not smut.
Not smut.
Okay. Probably Neon Gods.
I think mine was A Touch of Darkness.
Oh, nope, then yeah, that's it.
Because that counts.
Is that
or is it just smut? Because I mean,
thought
like,
that was more smut than it was erotica.
that's a tough. Okay, so like, is there a difference between smut and erotica?
What is your classification of both?
Because like when I say erotica, I'm thinking like books that are literally the whole point of it is the sex, versus smut is like there's sex in these books, like From Blood and Ash. I wouldn't call that erotica, but there's sex in it.
Yeah, I know, because now there's the whole like spicy book.
Yeah, so like is a spicy book erotica, or is erotica like a separate thing?
No, because in the bookstore there's romance and then there's erotica.
Yeah.
So would what we consider smut be a romance book?
That's hard. Because
then there are like romance books. When I think of romance books, I think of like beach read, people we meet on vacation, you know, like they're not extremely erotic. Mm-mm. They're not extremely smutty. Like there might be maybe one, maybe two scenes, but the whole point is like the romance.
See, that's why I always say, like, I think there's a spicy book, there's a smutty book, and then there's erotica. I think they're very different things.
Yeah.
Because sex in just like a book,
yeah,
that's different. That's just smut. It's just smutty.
Yeah.
But if there's like if it's just a book that is literally about the sex, like Neon Gods by Katie Roberts, the point of that book is the sex.
It's an erotica.
There's a plot, but it's the sex you come for.
The sex you stay for.
And yeah, so I think there's a big difference. I do.
Okay, so I would say, I'm going to say that I think A Touch of Darkness is a smutty book. I don't think it's in an erotica. If you're asking me what the first erotica I've ever read, I would say it's Neon Gods. Yeah,
okay, I would say that. Well, yeah, I guess I'd say that too, because I think A Touch of Darkness was the smuttiest physical book I'd ever read.
I didn't know it was smutty before I got it. Did you know that?
Honey, I did know. I was well aware what it was.
I did not know this.
I'd have to read it because now it's been a minute.
I thought it was YA.
Oh no, sweetie.
I found it in the YA section.
No.
Yeah.
I ordered that shit on Amazon the second I knew what it was. I was like, yes.
Listen.
Oh God.
You gotta separate that stuff better.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I straight up thought it was a YA book.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
And then my poor little virgin eyes.
Oh, please. Please.
Hey, I'm way more prudish than you are when it comes to all of this. We know you're the whore of the group.
Wow.
I would say the first like smutty book I've ever read was probably ACOTAR. Well, not ACOTAR, ACOMAF.
I would say so too.
Yeah.
That was like the first book that I was like, this is spicy. This is descriptive. Like this is literally descriptive spice. And then obviously, then every book was just full of it.
Literally.
But it's not erotica. It's not Katie Roberts.
No.
That's why I want to say A Touch of Darkness is kind of more erotica because
yeah, it is very descriptive.
a lot of the point is the sex, and it's like descriptive.
Very descriptive.
It's dirty. Even, well, like her other book, King of Battle and Blood, which is like her vampire
like
series.
it?
I did.
Was it really smutty?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yes. And
more smutty than Touch of Darkness or less smutty?
I'd say about the same. So like I have a hard time calling it, like I want to say it's erotica. However, there is a plot and it is going to be a series. So like, is there such thing as like...
It's going to be a series?
Yes, this is the first book. So like, is there such thing as like erotica books? Yes, there is. 100% there is. So like, I don't know. Like what makes erotica and what just makes a spicy book? Because maybe it's the ratio, maybe it's the just amount of spice.
I think if the plot is very important to the story, I would classify it more as like a romance,
whatever other genre, yeah.
But if it's more like, if there's more than like 3 sex scenes, it's erotica.
Okay, then
like
A Touch of Darkness.
Graphic.
A Touch of Darkness and King of Battle and Blood is definitely erotica then because it's a lot of sex.
What would you say your favorite smutty book is?
Oh, that's a very good one.
And what makes it that amazing for you?
Smutty book. This shouldn't be surprising. Yeah, this shouldn't be surprising from Blood and Ash.
Yeah.
I just think it's done very well. I think like the sex scenes aren't aggressive.
Agree. Yeah, they're not very aggressive.
It's not erotica. Do you know what I mean? Like it's classy smut. Like I don't know. It's not graphic.
The other stuff is disgusting, filthy.
No, I don't know how to describe it. It's just
it's more about the emotion than it is about the act.
Yes, and even when the act is described, it's dirty, but it's not like dirty.
Yeah.
It, like you compare From Blood and Ash to Neon Gods, big difference.
Yeah,
big difference. The language is what makes it. Like Neon Gods isn't afraid to use some pretty, dirty language.
Oh, yeah.
From Blood and Ash is a little bit more careful about it. Still dirty, but not to the same degree. It's just done in a certain way.
What makes Blood and Ash a good spicy book?
It depends on like what you're into, I guess. But I don't know. I like, especially like for you because you're not a big like smutty person.
I'm not a whore.
You're not a whore, so you don't you didn't enjoy like the erotica that was like Neon Gods and stuff like that. So I think it's like good smut in that way. Like it's good smut for people that just don't want something so graphic.
As someone who I didn't love From Blood and Ash, but I didn't hate it in any way. I appreciated the erotica that was in it because for me, I like the emotional aspect of it all and like the feelings and all of those things. And I think the way JLA handled it was, I think, yeah, you're right. I don't know if it's the right word. Classy.
It's just hard to explain. Like, classy's the wrong word, but
she used more complex words. There wasn't so much profanity.
You know what it is? It's not male gazy.
It can be. It can be because a lot of, I feel like from what I remember from Blood and Ash, the way they describe Poppy is very much the way a man would see her.
Interesting.
That's what that's my opinion about it. Hey guys, her thighs, the way she like moved, the way she responded to him, like that's very male gazy to me, but it's not male gazy to the point where it's like fucking, I don't know, Fast and Furious.
I would argue, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would argue that like the later books, like A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire,
I can't speak to.
Like you haven't read it, but like I find it a little less male gazy just because she talks about her, like, because like the whole premise is like that Poppy's just never had a choice, never had life, never like, so she's, breaking free and becoming her own person. So there's like these scenes, these like dirty scenes where she's like kind of taking what she wants from him.
Yeah.
So I guess that's really what I'm talking about. Is she's like, I'm taking what I want from you. You're not taking what you want
Again,
from me.
I'm basing it off all of that first book. Which I didn't really like. No. I didn't really like that sex scene because there was informed consent wasn't involved. Which kind of like, kind of an ick.
Kind of sus.
Yeah, kind of sus. But for me, I think this is where my line is I don't really like the emphasis on the physical. I'm more like the emotional. Yeah. Because I'm like, if I think about it, I'm like, oh, who are my favorite like book couples? Would I want to see a smutty scene with them? And then I think about it and I'm just like, would I want to hear the phrase Kaz's cock?
I was wondering when the C word would come out.
Do I want to hear that? And I'm just like, I don't think so. I don't need to hear that. But if they ever did have a sex scene between Kaz and Inej, which there's a lot of reasons why that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I would want it to be more of an emotional thing. I'd want it to be more of a what's going on in their heads. What, like, that kind of feeling. Like, for me, one of the most erotic scenes that I've ever read is not erotic in any sense.
Is it when they hold hands?
No, it's the scene where he's doing her bandages.
Yes. Classic.
And like literally I think he kisses her neck.
Yeah.
And I was just like crossing my legs. Because it was so emotional, it was so beautiful. It was like this like this change in the character and blah blah blah. Like that's the kind of vibes I'm more into. Yeah. Whereas like if he's just bending her over.
Whereas like like straight, like you can't, like you've tried. I've tried a lot of Katie Roberts and you can't do it.
Okay, in all honesty, Katie Roberts, compared to other smut that I have read, I think she handles it the best for me.
Yeah, 100%.
She understands consent. She understands aftercare. She understands like kindness and feelings and emotions and like being a responsive partner and all of those things. And I think if I were to read smut, she is the best author for me.
She does her research. Yeah. Because like Katie Roberts, she specializes in like kinks. Like every book is a different kink.
Yeah.
And she really does her research. And I think that's what makes it a very safe erotica to read, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think that's a really good word. Like I feel very safe reading those books, whereas most of the time they make me feel really kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah. I find like I'm afraid to like branch out to anyone other than like Katie Roberts at the moment, because I haven't read a ton of smut, or like erotica, I should say. But like she just like it's like the attention to detail, and like you still like it's erotica. It is erotica. The plot really doesn't matter, but the character still does. Their consent, their needs, their requirements, all of that still matters.
Yeah. I think her emphasis on consent really makes me feel safe enough to read her books. Especially, like, again, I didn't finish Neon Gods, but I made it really far.
You did.
For me, that's like a big...
I think the best example is, what is it called? The Jafar and Jasmine one?
Desperate Measures.
Desperate Measures. I think that's the best one because that features the consent, no consent kink. Yeah. And she does that very well because you have to be very careful with that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she did it. It's very dirty. Very dirty. But she makes it so abundantly clear that in every single situation, there was consent there. Mm-hmm. And it's not like oh, like she kind of nods or like he feels like she's ready. Yeah. Like none of that shit.
No, the words,
it's verbal. Yeah. Like that, there is the consent there. Yeah. Because like sometimes I think like my biggest pet peeve, whether it's erotica or just like spicy books. Yeah. A lot of the time the consent is just assumed. Like, oh, you feel ready, so you must be. Uh-huh. Like, that's not how that works.
I know. And this whole argument that like, oh, asking isn't hot. Asking is incredibly hot.
It's very hot. Yeah. Ask always. Jesus Christ. Use your words. Yeah. If you don't get a yes, a verbal yes,
it's not a yes.
It's not a yes. Yeah. End of story.
End of story.
Yeah.
If there's a yes daddy involved, then it's a hell yes.
Then it's a hell yeah.
Or yes mommy.
Okay, so what's too much for you? In like because you're not like I'll sit like when you like would start reading these Katie Roberts books and then you stopped. I was like, I'm gonna keep going, and I finished them all.
Yeah.
Like I've read a lot of her books, but well, you stopped. So what's too much for you? Like what gets to be too much?
I think part of it is that I get a little bored.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how many times can you like? How many ways are you gonna take? Like, she's only got so many holes.
Oh my god.
No, but I mean, like, you can. I think it's for me. It's just like, okay, it's like the 15th time they've had sex. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of done.
You're done. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I do. I find when I read smut, I don't just like read it in one sitting. Except for weirdly, Neon Gods I read in one sitting. And what's so funny about that is I picked it up and I started reading it, and by then you had stopped. I was still going. It was just like a day off. I wasn't working. I wasn't like in school or anything like that. I was just reading this book. I knew that Nick got off work at a certain time and I knew what time he would be here. So I wasn't stressed. I hadn't showered. I was still in my pajamas, which was like a stained, like oversized shirt. Like
this is an amazing story.
I was disgusting. I was just a grease ball. I was just like absolutely nasty. In my bed, unmade. It is 3 p.m. I am reading Neon Gods and I'm in deep when my bedroom door opens and there's Nick standing in the doorway and I scream. I fling my kobo.
She's in her shame cave.
I am in my shame cave. I am disgusting looking. And he's like, why do you look like you've been like cheating on me? Like that's what he said. He's like, that's the same look. And he's like, what are you reading? And I was like, no. I'm like freaking out. He like grabs my book from me. He's like, what the fuck is this? It was just so dirty. And he was like, Ashley. And I was like, I'm gonna go shower. Take a cold shower.
Has Nick ever read any of your books?
You know what? Yeah. I handed over. He was so choked. There was a summer. Oh, this is unfortunate. There was a summer we were all like at our family cabin and I was reading A Touch of Darkness on the dock. Like I was lounging in the sun.
Right in the open.
Right in my family's face. And I would like get to a really nasty scene. I'd be like, hey Nick, look. And he'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you right now? He's like, your grandmother's over there.
You're like, I don't care.
I don't give a shit. And then I read like a Game of Fate right after. So I was just back to back smut. And he was like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I gave it to him just to see his reaction.
We should have Nick on the podcast one day and just interview him.
Just get him to read smut for the audience.
His commentary would be very entertaining.
Oh, it would be. He has great commentary.
Like for me, I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like I just get overwhelmed by it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The whole point of my story is I was going to say that most of the time, except for that Neon Gods incident, I usually like read a smutty scene and then I put it down.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to it like a day later. So that way it doesn't get overwhelmed by it. So I don't get overwhelmed. And then it's not so repetitive.
Yeah.
Just like a ton of sex.
I mean, I think for me, sometimes also I'm like, I think I need to do my research more with certain books. It's just like, what's the kink? Because I didn't know what the kink was with Desperate Measures.
Yeah.
And that for me was a big no.
I started doing research because like I went into Neon Gods. I didn't know what the kink was. The kink was voyeurism. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is...
Which I was okay with.
I was okay with it. Dirty as fuck.
Yeah.
It was just the dirtiest book I've ever read. I was like, holy shit. On a stage. I was like, you go, girl.
Damn.
Get it. Go off. But like, yeah, I didn't see Desperate Measures coming.
No.
I read Learn My Lesson, which is Meg and Hades. I knew it was like a poly relationship.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so it was very good. I was still very dirty because it's still like a dominant submissive relationship.
It's a poly relationship?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because
I mean, I don't know how I feel about that being a kink.
Hercules is introduced. I wouldn't call it a kink.
That's not a kink, yeah.
I wouldn't call it a kink. I guess the kink was like dominant submissive still. Okay. But the whole point was that like she wasn't getting everything she needed from Hades because he's a very stoic dude, can't give her care, but that's where Hercules comes in. Yeah. So like I guess so like a lot of threesome sex.
Yeah, see, threesomes for me are... It depends on the threesome.
We were just talking about this because I was saying that The War of Two Queens comes out soon. And there's a rumor that the joining might be in it, though I doubt it. But like,
for those who don't know what that is,
it's essentially like one person has more power. Like, for example, like Castile has more power I'm not going to, because I don't want to spoil anything. Castile has more power, for example, and Poppy's mortal. So they can exchange blood with his Wolven, which is Kieran. And so that way she would be tied to Kieran's lifespan. However, because the whole exchange of blood is erotic, it usually ends up in like a threesome. So everyone really wants this threesome to happen.
I just don't get it.
I know you don't.
I just don't get it. Okay, see, this is my thing. Threesomes. One dick is a lot.
You'd hate learn my lesson.
I mean, one dick is a lot for me mentally to deal with. I am bisexual. I have had boyfriends. I lean towards women. I like men. Men are great. Ben Barnes can bend me over.
Oh my God.
But when another dick is presented, when it's in another member has joined the chat, I'm out.
It's just too much velvet wrapped steel. You know what I mean?
Yes, straight up. Too much velvet wrapped steel for me. I don't mind threesomes with two women. Because 2 women and a guy, sure. 3 women, great.
All women, fantastic.
All guys, ooh, I'm out.
Jeez. Yeah.
But also I think for me with these threesome things is, I don't know, I guess I'm very monogamous. I don't know. When these 2 characters are presented as like soulmates, right? Like, this is her one true person. This is her one true love. And then there's a threesome. I'm just like, wasn't he enough? Isn't he your one true person? Like, isn't he satisfying you 100%? But I get that it's a sex thing. But I think when they add this, like, it's more, it's deeper than that. That's where I'm like, what? I think that's my, like, I kind of retreat in that situation because I'm not interested in that.
It's different than like a poly relationship. Like, that's not what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's like,
because that's consent. That's consensual. Yeah. And
there's like an emotional tie to that most of the time. So
yeah.
I like he says, like, because I'm rereading The Crown of Gilded Bone where they're kind of like joking about the joining. And he literally, like, she says like, oh, is that something that you would like want to do? And he was like, well, all I need is you. And he's like, all I need is you. He's like, but if that's something you want to explore, he's like, then yeah, go off. I'll do whatever. Castile's a freak.
So Castile is kind of into Kieran?
No, he's just, it's not like explicitly said, but in the book, he kind of.
Castile's a little fruity. I think I'm going to read this book now.
He maybe, like, it's not, I don't think it's explicitly said, or maybe it is, but he kind of, it's mentioned that like he's kind of up for anything. With anyone.
Interesting. So he's like pan, kind of.
Yeah, in a sense, I guess.
Yeah.
He's just up to explore whatever, I guess, is what the vibes are. Because the whole vibe of that you learn in this like 3rd book is that like they very much want to push that sex is a very natural thing. Yeah. And that it's nothing to be ashamed of, especially with like the Wolven. So like they're at like this wedding party and like people are literally just like fucking out in the open. And
damn.
In like the shadows and shit. I'm not like
damn.
And like it's not weird for anyone. Like no one's like thinking it's gross or anything. And if people are watching, it's okay and stuff like that. Like it's just meant to be like a whole natural thing. So like when he says, or I don't know who said it. I don't know if Kieran said it or if it was Castile that said it. Someone was like, you know, he's up for literally anything. He will try anything and, you know, whatever.
Okay, so this is what I have to say. I think this is what my opinion about threesomes is. When it's a devil's tricycle.
Oh my God, the devil's tricycle.
When it's a devil's tricycle, meaning there are 2 men and a woman. If that's happening, I want them to all be into each other.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, so I'm gonna reference.
Okay, so like Alina, the Darkling of Volcra.
Yeah. No, like for me it would be like, okay, like if from the Infernal Devices, I know I'm picking a YA book, but like if Tessa, Jem, and Will because they all love each other. I don't think Will and Jem like each other like that. But if they like the way they loved each other, if they had a threesome, I think I would be okay with it.
Because then is it just a threesome or is it then like
polyamory?
Yeah.
See, but okay, this is what I mean. Okay, it's hard to explain, but I'm gonna reference A Court of Silver Flames.
Okay.
And I believe I don't know if it's not really a spoiler, is it?
Nah.
So Nesta has like a fantasy of Cassian and Azriel spit roasting her.
I mean, who doesn't?
Right. But see, the thing for me that makes it ick is that Cassian and Azriel wouldn't want to be touching each other. It would always be just about Nesta, and therefore it's not a threesome, in my opinion.
I see where you're coming from.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I think Cassian also mentions it at one point where it's just like, he's like, oh, when we were young males, Reese, Az, and I used to like have sex in the same room with women. And it was just like, we just didn't care. And it's like, I don't know. To me, that's so dude bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not gay at that point. And not that I needed, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, oh, a threesome isn't gay if the two guys don't touch each other. And I'm like, then now this just feels homophobic.
Honestly, yeah, because what's the point in a threesome if you're not all enjoying each other?
Yeah, because then you're not. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, if there is a threesome, it's got to be all three, you know? It's got all three wheels got to be going.
The Volcra has to take part as well.
Why that?
I don't know. Just easy choice.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's what I mean. If there's going to be a threesome, I need it to be a proper threesome. You guys all need to be into each other. And I think that, like, it's kind of a double standard usually when it's two women and a guy, or when it's two guys and a girl, that when it's two women and a guy, the guy is enjoying the girl is enjoying the other girl, and they're all participating because it's sexual to a man.
Yeah.
But when it's two guys and a girl, it's just about the girl because otherwise straight guys are going to think it's gross.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, like, I'm very interested to see how the joining would go, because I'm going to say that it's there. She kind of like posted a little teaser and everyone was like, is that what I fucking think it is? Is that what I think it is?
If it happens, I need you to tell me. If it happens,
I'll just send you screenshots of
hell
it.
yeah. If it happens, then I need Castiel to make out with Kieran. I need him to suck his dick.
Here's the thing, is I think that if it's either going to go one of two ways. Either she's going to write it as like them worshiping Poppy,
which I won't like,
or she'll write it as it should be written, which is all of them together enjoying each other.
Yeah.
Because her whole thing is that sex is supposed to be, which it is, natural, and like anything that you're into, fine.
Yeah.
And it should be just like it doesn't need to be a thing.
Yeah.
It's just whatever. So I'd be really surprised.
If it is just the two of them worshiping Poppy, then it starts to bother me. Because now again, it's only about Poppy. It's not about the other two. There's no equality in that situation. Yeah. And it for me cheapens her relationship with Castiel.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Because like they're literally, I don't know if this is a spoiler. I wouldn't call it spoilers. They're literally mates. They're heart mates. Like, so like that's her one person, and he's her one like they're just each other's person. So like, you know, I don't know.
That's where I'm like, I'm out.
It comes down to the whole emotional thing at the end of the day, like because you're very passionate about this threesome thing, as you should be, but like it comes down to that whole like emotional thing, like if they're your person and then there's someone else touching your person. Yeah.
That because that's how I feel about everything, and like me and my partner have not to bring you into my relationship. But like, I don't know, me and my partner have discussed things like this, and we're just like, nah, that's I don't.
God.
Hey, you've discussed it.
I'm just sitting here minding my business.
Anyways, smutty books.
We told you you'd get to know way too much about it.
You would know way too much about it.
So is it just like threesomes that you can't? Because I know like we said, Katie Roberts' books are all like every book is a new kink.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't know what I know that the new book that she released, Electric Idols, is a Psyche and Eros retelling, which appeals to me because actually Psyche and Eros is one of my favorite like Greek love stories.
What's the kink though?
Exactly.
What, you don't know?
No.
Okay, let me find out.
Because I'm just like, I know she's plus size. I know Psyche's plus size, and I think that's really awesome. Like that kind of representation is really awesome. And I'm like, okay, if I were to read a book that's really cool that like the main girl's plus size, I want to know what the kink is so I can safely read it.
Would it even say in this?
I have no idea.
Let me see here.
She's researching. Her eyes are glowing.
I'll read it. We like when for that hot minute that we were on like Kobo Plus, which is where you get like it's like $9 a month or something, and you get free books. All of Katie Roberts' books were like there, so I was binge reading her books. They're just really good in between fantasy series books because you're still getting that little bit of fantasy most of the time, with a lot of smut. Let's see. Shall I just read it for everyone?
Yeah.
All right.
Please do.
In the ultra modern city of Olympus, there's always a price to pay.
Oh, shit.
Psyche knew she'd have to face Aphrodite's ire eventually, but she never expected her literal heart to be at stake, or for Aphrodite's gorgeous son to be the one ordered to strike the killing blow. Where was I? Oh. Eros has no problem shedding blood, but when it comes time to take out his latest target, he can't do it. Confused by his reaction to Psyche, he does the only thing he can think of to keep her safe.
He fucks her.
He marries her.
Oh.
Psyche vows to make Eros' life a living hell until they find a way out of this mess, but as lines blur and loyalties shift, she realizes he might just take her heart after all. And she might not be sure if she can survive the loss.
And she's no longer a virgin.
So what's the
kink?
What's the kink? I'm upset now. Is anyone going to talk about it? Are there any reviews that are like, hey,
this is the kink?
Okay, so after some thorough research, we still came up blank.
We did like a solid 15 minutes of research.
We straight up like every Goodreads review, TikTok, you name it. From what I'm gathering, it's just like someone said rough vanilla, and then you saw some art that was like bondage. So I guess just like
light bondage slash rough
bondage
sex
slash rough sex. We've been researching so long, I don't even know what we were talking about.
No, speaking of kinks, I have a list over here, and I think we should play a fun little game.
I worry what our FBI agent thinks of our search history, because neither of us private browsered that shit. No.
Well, I have a list, and you're gonna say yay or nay if this kink was in a specific smutty book
that I've read.
No, yeah, sure. Or if it was in a book that you were to read, would you read it or not?
Okay.
I
don't know. This is very exposing.
BDSM. Yeah. Same. What about sadism and masochism?
I don't know.
Are you into pain?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I'm gonna say nay for now.
I'm gonna say nay too. Ropes and bondage.
Yeah.
That's a big yay. What about
it's a mega yay.
Yay. Voyeurism.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did.
Exhibitionism.
Yeah.
Role play.
Yeah. You're not answering any of these.
I also say yay to everything Ashley says yay to. Dirty talk. This is a big yay.
Yeah, of course.
Dirty talk is like my favorite.
That's half what that's
I
half
love
the appeal.
Communication.
Hell yeah.
So I'm like, dirty talk's great.
But also like, what is an erotica / smutty book without dirty talk? Like, what's the point then?
Yeah, I know. The dialogue's kind of important.
The dialogue's the whole point. If there's no dialogue.
What about humiliation?
No, I draw the line.
No. What about praise kinks?
You did not answer.
Humiliation's a big no for me.
I humiliate myself on the daily. I don't need to read about other people being humiliated.
What about a praise kink?
Yeah, sure.
What about orgasm control?
Yeah, because that was pretty much learn my lesson.
Consensual non-consent.
And that was desperate measures. So yeah, apparently.
Gags.
What fucking list are you looking at right now?
Every kink in the book list.
Oh, Thank you.
Degradation kink.
What? Yeah.
What about gags?
Let's go back to what we didn't answer. I mean, sure, go off.
Yeah, go off. Same.
I'd almost categorize
I feel
that
like
with,
I'm agreeing with you on all of this.
we're very similar.
We're very
people.
similar people. Blood play. No.
I like
unless it's a vampire.
That's different.
That's
like
different.
from Blood and Ash and like A King of Battle and Blood. That's different.
Yeah, that
shit's different.
Yeah, I'm okay with it if it's an actual like supernatural vampire, but if like a human being is
like
doing
knife
that,
play.
no.
That's scary.
Den of Vipers,
scared.
anyone?
I'm scared. Don't do that.
I didn't know much about Den of Vipers other than it looked like the cover looked exactly like these Violent Delights.
Have you read it? Is it true that he fucks her with a knife?
Yes.
I'm assuming the handle.
I did not read it, but
With the
I
handle?
have with the handle of the knife.
So he's gripping the blade?
Yeah.
Is he bleeding?
Yes.
Oh no.
That's an STD waiting to happen.
Okay. No.
One of them is mummification.
Excuse me?
Wait, what?
I don't kink shame, but what is that?
It says it has nothing to do with no, it literally you wrap someone up
Like a mummy?
like a mummy.
How does this work out?
I don't know. How do you fuck them?
I guess they just
You
leave
make
it
a
open.
hole. I think I'm through my list.
Oh my god. I just learned something today.
Yeah, we learned
I thought
a
I
lot.
was pretty well versed in like,
Mummification.
mummification.
Katie Roberts' new book.
Katie Roberts' next book. She's like making the Dark Olympus series, or like because like Electric Idol's the second book after Neon
Yes.
Gods, different characters, but it's like there's like 2 other books coming out.
From what I've heard, the next one is going to be a Zeus and Hera book.
I don't think I want to read about Zeus.
As someone who adores Greek mythology and went to school for Greek mythology, Zeus and Hera's relationship is not anything to be desired.
I think if you were to read Katie Roberts' smut, it sounds like Electric Idol would be the one for you to read because it's apparently it's still spicy,
most vanilla?
but it's most vanilla.
Yeah.
However, people are saying that it's like she takes liberties with like the Greek mythology of it all, so I don't think you could read it. I think the
No.
smut is good for you, but I don't think the storyline
That's why
is.
I couldn't finish Neon Gods.
Yeah.
It just bugged me too
I
much.
knew you wouldn't because it's a very unique take on
Greek mythology.
because it's super modern day and they've
Yeah.
turned Olympus into a city.
Yeah.
It's just, I thought it was very unique, but I was like, she'll never read this.
No.
Not in a million years.
No.
Not in a million years.
Well, I was going to ask you actually before we close out. What is your hard no when it comes to smutty books?
That's a good question.
Like,
sounds bad,
what is
but
your
like-
big red flags for me? I don't like it if there's no
consent.
representation. I understand that it's a sex book, but if there's not a single person that isn't white in your book, or like let's just like basic things like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, ooh, pass.
I think the assumed, like we talked about the assumed consent,
Yeah,
because then I feel icky. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to find this attractive or spicy at all because I'm uncomfortable now.
yeah. Consent is a big one for me. I don't like it so much when, for me, I don't know if I could read a book where like the non-consensual consent is a thing. I think that would just make me uncomfortable.
See, like, because like we said, Katie Roberts did that, and I feel like she did it very well because there was consent in the non. And you know what she does? You know why it works? Because her protagonist is the narrator, so you know exactly
What they're
thinking.
Yeah,
And especially with consent, no consent, you need to hear it.
yeah.
And it's actually, honestly, in every book, because every book is super kinky.
Any
it's
sort
nice
of
to hear it.
cheating, big no.
Yeah. What was I forgot mine. Oh, I won't read smut. And I know the whole point of smut is just that it's just like something easy to read.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
When it's not well researched,
yeah.
like I wouldn't read I've talked about, like I'll watch 50 Shades of Grey. I think it's just fun.
yeah.
I will not read the books because it is a terrible representation. And
Yeah, I
the
know that
research
like
isn't
a
there.
lot of people in the BDSM community were like super upset because they're like, that's not what we do, and that's super non-consensual, and that's manipulative behavior.
You know what? I have to take back everything I said. The first smutty book I ever read was 50 Shades.
Really?
I read the first book. Yeah.
physical book.
Yeah, I read the physical book. I've just remembered now.
Did I? No, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Same.
Have to take everything back. That was the first book. And I remember that's a scary thing.
We only read it because we were whores for Twilight.
Yeah, because it was Twilight fan fiction. But like, that's not a good representation. It's not well researched. The relationship is toxic.
Well, I just remember being so uncomfortable reading it, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
it just made me so uncomfortable.
Like, compare that to like Katie
Neon
Roberts'
Gods or anything like that,
BDSM.
yeah.
Totally different.
Or even like Scarlett Sinclair.
Even that.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
It is just a huge, like, just, I don't know what it was about 50 Shades. It was very obviously like no knowledge.
Yeah.
And just obviously like,
it was just this woman's fantasy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
I'm going to assume it's just her fantasies. But then that can get scary because now, especially because it was so hyped, there was probably so many like young men and women and just anyone reading it and they were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good representation. The consent was often lacking, I found.
Yeah.
Especially, I was rewatching the movie a couple weeks ago, and that scene where she's like, where she's like, show me your worst. And he like whips her with a belt, and she obviously doesn't want it, but she lets him keep doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I feel like disgusting inside.
Yeah.
I feel gross.
I'm pretty sure there's a scene in the book where he's pissed off with her and he beats her and she didn't consent to it. And I was just like, ooh.
Like, she keeps saying, like, what's your whole thing? Like, why do you feel the need to hurt me so you feel better?
I know, and then it's like, oh, I'm fucked up, that's why.
But, like, that's not the point.
No.
Of this kink.
No.
That's not the point.
No.
You're not hurting her to make yourself less angry or to make your life easier.
No.
It's meant to be, like, a pleasure thing for all parties.
Yeah.
And you're taking a negative side to it.
Well, yeah, and it's also like a very bad representation of people who are kinky because it literally says like, oh, if you're kinky, you're like fucked up.
It's 100% what it represents.
Yeah.
Because like they're like, here's every instance of kink in that book stems from something disgusting.
Some sort of trauma.
Like that woman that preyed on him when he was a child. And got him into the BDSM community when he was not of age. No. And she was like, how much older than her?
She was his mom's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like at really least 30 years older than him. Yeah. So like every representation, every bit of kink in those books, in those movies were horrible.
Super gross.
Super toxic.
Yeah.
And so like that's why I'm so excited to see that like after the hype that had and the unfortunate drawback that like people are still reading erotica and it's celebrated.
And that it's better.
Proper erotica.
Yeah.
And people...
and it's a safe space.
It is a safe space.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you're not a toxic person. You're not a bad person for reading it.
Yeah.
Like go off. Read what you want to read.
Hell
Fuck
yeah.
It. Get freaky.
If your entire freaking month reads is just erotica, go off.
I strive to be you.
It's also really fun too because you can go through so many books because they're usually not that long.
They're not long. Like that's why I just toss them in all the time because I'm like, this is an easy read. It'll be like wild. It'll be so fun for me. Yeah. Like it's just fun.
Sometimes for me, even if I'm not like I'm not like enjoying it for the reason it's sometimes I'm just like, this is just fun. Yeah. This is funny.
It's just funny.
It's a funny thing to watch. Yeah.
And like I just love getting the reaction.
Yeah. Because like, it's wild.
Because they're wild and like I would argue that I'm pretty like, you know, nothing really phases me.
If she ever walked by a church, she'd start burning.
I'd burn. But like sometimes I read, like I was reading every new Katie Roberts book just gets a little smuttier, and every time I turn bright red and I'm like screaming. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit, I need to touch grass.
Yeah.
Like it's great. Like that's why they're so fun to me. Because I'm like, I'm very, you can't phase me, but these books phase me.
They phase me.
I get phased every time. I'm like, shit. And Nick's always like, can you go touch some grass or something, you fucking freak? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gone. All right, that is our show. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chaotically Bookish, for filmed podcasts and hopefully future lives at some point.
Hopefully.
Maybe
we do that 50 Shades thing.
Or maybe we just read smut live.
Watch Ashley go more and more red.
Ew, I would turn into tomato. Be sure to rate us and follow us on Instagram at Chaotically Bookish Podcast. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Ashes Reads, and you can find Annabelle on TikTok and Insta at Many Weathered Pages. If you want to contribute to our show, send us your favorite smutty reads or your favorite reactions.
Your deepest, darkest fantasies.
Feel free to send us an email or DM us on Instagram. Stay safe, enjoy a good book, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.